Trading is closed on January 26, 2022. We always start with our disclaimer. It's my trading plan for tomorrow, January 27th. Remember, I can be wrong and all trades should be at your own risk. I actually missed a call yesterday I should have made. Two people were kind enough to point it out to me. I want to discuss how I got messed up, and if it's not clear to people who read the book or took the course, please don't ask me questions on the general chat. Just email me at this address and I'll try to explain it to you. I always appreciate it when people point things out to me that I don't do right. We all play for the same team, and I'm grateful for any corrections I receive. Well, let's start out with what I got right. We look for the pattern with the early low, which is this, and tomorrow also has the early low. We said that we expected to see a sharp move at the open, a gap, and a prompt move outside yesterday's range. We got that, so that was right. Now, why didn't we call this? Well, I wrote the rules from June through August of 2002. It took me about 3 months to figure everything out, and according to the rules, that's a sell signal today. Now, a number of years ago, about 5 years ago now, 5 or so years ago, I had a computer program written, and the computer program and I didn't have good communication about the rules, and he put some rules in that were slightly different than mine. And it turned out, fortunately, his rules worked too. So it isn't that the sell signal was wrong. It still works. It's that we found out there was a higher target as well. Well, according to the rules in the book, this is not a valid, sustainable move, and we should undercut this low, giving us this target. Found out later, it's good enough to generate a higher price. Now, once you clear this high and clear this high, you don't have to go any higher than that. So actually, the buy signal was already satisfied. But I just forgot to include that. That's just my mistake. I got kind of mixed up. So I'm glad for the people who pointed that out to me. So as far as today goes, we had an ultimate buy signal. Sure didn't call the next move, but it sure worked at some point. These just give targets, they don't give entries. Well, we gapped up, hit a higher high, closed under all the highs, all the lows. It's a very negative pattern, and you either invalidate it by gapping smartly and taking out these highs early, or you see lower prices tomorrow. Doesn't have to be a lot lower, although it usually is, and it doesn't mean that you close lower, but it calls for lower prices unless it gets reversed early. Now, futures are way down as I'm recording this, so maybe that won't happen. But in spite of this big drop, we closed over all the lows from yesterday and the day before. So this huge drop could trade under the lows, but couldn't hold it at the close. We're still looking for this low to hold, although it certainly isn't a lock by any means. But when you drop and don't accomplish anything, at least gives you a chance of a recovery. Now, I don't know how we're going to open tomorrow. If we open down under all these lows, this recovery doesn't mean a thing, but that's not the only pattern. We're counting this as 5 waves down. That's 1 and that's 2. It's finally possible to count a wave 3 as being complete. I mean, if that's 1 and that's 2 and that's 3 and that's 4, wave 5 is now a nice Fibonacci target of wave 3. And that's wave red 5, and wave black 3 is exactly twice black 1. So you do have balance, wave balance at this low. And even though futures are way down as I'm recording this, And even though you don't have to stop here by any means, if you do stop here, at least you have an explanation. The fact that that count works doesn't mean other counts won't. But until today, I just didn't have a count that worked. Tuesday's pattern, where did that come from? Let's try this again. Thursday's pattern has the early low. Could still gap up. Typically it's a rally day with a final hour high. If it's weak instead, more weakness should come, even if we rally the rest of the day. We gapped up, hit a higher high, closed under intraday highs and even under intraday lows. It's a bearish pattern. Either we gap and promptly overtake today's high, or we see lower prices print tomorrow. Doesn't mean we have to close lower. There's an FOMC whipsaw. The first move was up. Usually that tells you the direction of the next move in the market. The next move was way down, and the third wave of the whipsaw typically goes over this level by an amount greater than we went under it. So if it works, and I'm not going to claim it works every time, it's calling for a huge rally over 44.22. Could take us way up. I mean, this is, what was this low here? This was 43.04, was it? Yeah, 43.04 and change. So that's, you know, over, that's not quite 120 points, but pretty close. So that would take us way back up here to over 45, 40 something. Doesn't have to work, but it works pretty often. Monday's low has the characteristics of a bottom, which usually, not always, usually lasts more than just 2 days. For that reason, I'm playing as if it holds. I don't hold overnight, so if I'm wrong, it doesn't hurt me. There's wave balance at today's low, and it's possible finally to count and complete 5 waves down. Furthermore, yesterday's intraday lows held at the close. That makes today's low a candidate for a low if we gap up smartly tomorrow. If we just keep on dropping, I don't think I'm going to hold my breath waiting for that to work. But if we gap up smartly, it's a candidate for a low. If the decline continues and this week's low falls, you must remember there are much lower targets out there before this decline ends. Futures are down 36 handles as I record this, so it's entirely possible we just keep dropping. We won't know for sure until the open. Now, I don't know what's going to happen overnight. We're way down here. We're in free fall. It's a very bearish pattern. We could just keep dropping. But if instead we're gapping up smartly and overtake this, that's a candidate for a low. Doesn't mean it has to work. So tomorrow's pattern has the early low. If we gap up smartly, that's a good chance of holding. But if we overtake this, which we don't have to do, but if we overtake 44.22 with conviction, not just a few points, there are much higher targets. But again, if we just keep on dropping, much lower targets are out there too. And that is today's call.